Good afternoon and welcome to the Audible. I'm John Congemi, sitting in for Kim Bocamper, and I'm pleased to be joined by Youth Programs Ambassador Twan Russell. Twan, how you doing this afternoon?
It's been great. We've really been able to do some great things this summer. We've been able to expand our youth programs. We've brought high schools and youth football teams out. It's just been really fantastic for Coach Gase to embrace us and say, you know, I want to pass the torch on to the football players that are playing now, and I want them to see us do it at the highest level.
You know, I think it's really cool because I've gotten a chance to not only meet some of those coaches with high school, but girls flag football teams, Pop Warner and Optimist teams coming in from Liberty City last week. I think we're going to have a couple more this week. Cooper City's going to be joining us. Carroll City's going to be joining us. So the high school kids, I'm surprised. I mean, when we went to school at St. Thomas, what would the opportunity have been like for us to come to the Dolphin training facility, sit in on practice, but not only sit in the stands, but get on the field and talk to guys that you may emulate at your position? If
you weren't a coach's son or the owner's son or a friend of the family, it's probably zero. And it's been wonderful. I mean, it's really been boiled down to a point where it's just about character. And, you know, Coach Gase said that he wants to expand what we're doing, and he really wants us to talk about character and use the game of football to do that. And we've been able to bring out these athletes and really just change their life. In some instances, be able to change their world. The coaches are saying after our character talks that, you know, these kids are seeing this experience, and now they're making a connection between, all right, if I need integrity, you know, yes, I need integrity to play the game of football, because if a coach says, hey, what happened on that play and you made a mistake, are you going to tell the truth or are you going to make it up? And a lot of players don't realize that integrity is important. If they say, hey, coach, you know, they ran this play and I made a mistake and I did it wrong, well, that helps the coach change the X's and O's. I know, and resilience. You know, when something bad happens, how do you overcome that? And we have like 5 topics that we've been dealing with, and we make the character talks very specific to each team. So, you know, we're able to talk about what happened to them last year. We're able to talk about the coach, and a lot of it is just endorsing the coach and talking about, hey, he knows what he's doing. We need you guys to buy into him. And every school that we brought out has a story. I think I'm not going to say the teams by name, but one of the teams, they were 5-5, and the coach said, hey, if you can talk to them about teamwork, you know, that'd be important. He gave me 3 or 4 situations so we were intimate, so we could get very intimate with them in the conversation. That was great.
You know, it's not only yourself, it's not only Coach Adam Gase, it's not only Kenny Stills or Jarvis Landry talking to these kids when they're in their drills. It's also CEO Tom Garfinkel of the Miami Dolphins being able to relate a message to not only the coaching staffs of the teams that come in, but it's those players and the work ethic it takes not only on the field, which you can speak to directly, but off the field in their future life when they're not playing athletics, when they're getting into business and they're growing up to come from young adults to adults, those things that you'll need to take on for a lifetime.
You know, Tom's been fun to watch. You know, he's very relatable to the kids, and he comes at them from a different angle that I would come at him from. And when he talks to them, he literally talks to their heart. Like he talks about, hey, you know, my job as a CEO is the same as a head football coach. Very similar. I'm looking for employees who have played some type of team sports. And he said it's important when he hires an athlete, he wants to make sure that they've had some type of team sport background. And he knows that they can relate to people, they can work with people. He knows they know how to lead from the front and they know how to follow. And those are important traits. And I think as we grow this program, you know, the goal is to, you know, bring more teams, more organizations out, because 20 years from now, I think that's going to be our real reward when an athlete is able to come, now they're a season ticket holder, and they raise their hand and say, you know what, I've been to a practice, I've been mentored by the Dolphins, I've watched them play on television, and now I'm sitting in the stands, and they've guided me on the principles that I need to grow my business, be a better father. And that's what it's about. I mean, the Miami Dolphins, you know, we're part of this community, and we have the opportunity to give so much to the community, and to be able to pass the torch and give character and teach about character to these athletes. It's absolutely amazing that, you know, Coach Gase, Tom Garfinkel is buying into that, and their stories are just brilliant. It's just fun to hear their stories, because all those stories mean something, and they all connect with kids different ways, and they're able to make an impact. And it's really been cool to see, like, you know, Kenny Stills went deep for a touchdown, and see all the kids,
they're running in the end zone with them.
Well, we had to stop them. But it's been fun to see these guys connect with these athletes in a completely different way. And, and they brought a spark to practice. I mean, these athletes want to make sure that they're putting on a show. So it's been fun to watch them do all these things, and it's just been fun to watch the athletes and the kids connect.
It's pretty cool when you can bring those kids into the bubble, and it's even closer than being on the outside two fields, and you get to see them in that arena. And it's not only building their character, which is number one, building how they want to become a better athlete, number two, but also growing a fan base for the Miami Dolphins that haven't had a whole lot to root for. There's probably some of those kids that have been fans that are, say they're a ninth grader in high school that hasn't seen a lot of winning out of the Miami Dolphins. And last year was their first year they could really, stand on a table and said, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan. They went 10-6. They went into the playoffs. And it's about growing that fan base where you have those adolescent optimist football tentative and encouraging adults that want to become into high school and play college football, and it's growing a fan base in South Florida.
And I agree, it is growing the fan base, but it's also growing the game of football. To see these young men and women who come to our practices and they look at it and say, hey, this is so much more than we ever expected. We show them their schedule, so they know they're getting in at 6:30 in the morning. They know that they're fighting all the way through the day, and then practice is just one of the things that they have to do. And when they see that, when we start talking about, hey, to be the best, to be successful, it starts well before you get to practice. It starts, by what type of breakfast you eat. It starts about what you put inside your body. It's about what you listen to. Because we also talked about what you feed your eyes and what you feed your ears is what you feed the heart. So if you're out there, following negative people and you're doing the wrong thing, well, what are you teaching yourself inside? So when it's, 3rd and 3 and you're about to get the football, will you have the integrity? Would you have the resilience? Would you have the stamina to get those 3 yards? And that happens well before practice. That happens during the summer. That happens during the way you do your homework. That happens the way you listen to your parents. And I think that these athletes are starting to get it because their stories are being told about maybe athletes coming to the Dolphins and maybe they weren't doing as well. But now that they've bought in, now that they're connecting with us in a deeper way, now they're being mentored by some of the older guys. These athletes are doing so much better, and we make that connection with them that it's not too late. You're still at a place in your life that if you do the right things, if you change the negative things that you're doing and become positive, who knows? I mean, we don't know what you're going to do. All these kids are part of a puzzle. I don't know if that puzzle to be a neuroscientist. I don't know if that puzzle is to be a cancer. Someone that cures cancer. I don't know if that puzzle. I don't know if they're a piece of the puzzle to be a teacher. But whatever they are, they're here for a purpose and they're here to do something very valuable. And every single day of their life will prepare them for that. So they cannot take the easy road out, because when the day comes where they're supposed to do whatever that one thing is, they have to be able to stand up, and everything in their life will have prepared them for that moment. And they're here to solve a solution, solve a problem, and do something great. And that's what this is all about. How can we make our youth better? How can we make South Florida better? And how can we mentor and lead these young men and women to be the best that they can be?
Yeah, educating the youth of South Florida, not only in the classroom, but on the athletic field. And also, the Dolphins are taking part in a big extravaganza this weekend with the 7-on-7 tournament right here in Plantation. I know there's a symposium on Friday. The 7-on-7 gets underway on Saturday. We'll conclude on Sunday, but maybe you could take us through the amount of teams that are going to be there and just how that's grown really over the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, the first year we had this program, we had about 20, maybe 22 teams that participated. No one really knew what we were trying to do. And that program still is around character, because, it's a completely free program where we bring the athletes out and they don't pay anything except for their time. That Friday night, they come and they sit in front of our executives, they sit in front of our current football players and our alumni football players, and we talk to them about real life. We talk about what it takes to be successful. What does it take to be the best you can be? And we give personal stories. We give analogies that they can use and that they can connect with. And the sole goal is for them to be a better athlete as well as a better person. And then that following day on Saturday, all those athletes, they come out there and compete. This year, right now, we're expecting over 50 high schools. It's one of the largest 7-on-7s in the Southeast United States. We'll have close to 900 to 1,000 athletes participate. They're going to have awesome jerseys. They're going to have everything that you need. And we try to put on the event so that they can showcase themselves in a positive way, so that they can have fun. But more importantly, that they walk away from this and have great character, and they have the ability and that they know the tools that they need to be successful.
Yeah, I know you guys do a great job, and all the kids in South Florida look forward to this 7-on-7 tournament every year. Symposium on Friday night. The tournament actually starts on Saturday morning, concludes with a championship on Sunday. I know we're going to have age groups from 10 under, 12 under, 14 and under. So a lot of different kids are going to get the opportunity to showcase their skills and learn a lot about off the field and on the field this weekend. And talking about on the field now for the Miami Dolphins, we've been spending a lot of time around camp the last couple of weeks, and it's OTAs, it's helmets and shorts,
yep.
But guys are still running around, and they're getting into different schemes on defense, different play packages on offense. What have you seen overall about the entire team? First of all, for me, Twan, I just like the way that it's a second year with the system on offense, and on defense, you've got a guy taking over that's really trying to expand upon what VJ did with his defense last year and trying to get those numbers up. So just your overall impressions on what you've seen so far.
It's been, first of all, it's been cool to watch, to be able to watch them, just take that next step. I mean, practices have been so much faster. I mean, the connection with the coaches, you can definitely see it. I mean, it's less effort at communicating just because it seems like they're in the system for another year. But even when you just look at the linebackers, which was probably one of the weakest position groups last year, I think it may mess around and be the strongest position group. When you look at what's going on right now, we just Timmons.
Yeah, Lawrence Timmons, right?
I'll tell you, the guy is really seems like he's kind of bringing it all together. I mean, it's really been fun to watch that savvy veteran in there take control of the huddle, communicate with those young guys. I mean, and even seeing Mike Hall. Yeah. I mean, Mike has actually been playing a whole lot. I mean, in fact, when that first group's out there, he's with the first group a lot. I mean, it's been fun to see these guys play football. And then I think it's been a long time I've seen linebackers move around so much. I mean, every single day it seems like they're in a different position.
There's a different combination,
correct,
right?
Correct.
And I think that's healthy, because the way this defense is going to be successful, it's just not that starting unit. Last year we saw that next up mentality. The next guy up had to play and play a lot of significant snaps at certain positions. Neville Hewitt, one of those guys that stepped up and played a lot. We've got a lot of depth now, it seems for me, at safety. A lot more experience at corner. You get a veteran in Hayes at the defensive end spot, with your first-round draft choice humming off the other side. And we haven't even talked about Cam Wake or Andre Branch yet. So there's a lot of good things on that side of the football that makes you feel pretty encouraged about training camp and preseason and the regular season.
What's great is a lot of competition.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you can infuse that type of competition into your defense or into your offense, great things have to happen, because what it does, it makes everyone raise their ability. It pushes everyone. You have to be a better communicator. You have to be a better linebacker or a better defensive back. And it's just been fun to watch these guys. And when I say fight, I don't mean physically fight, but just kind of fight to be the best. And it's been. But the best part that I get to watch is at the very end. And it kind of reminds me when I was here that you see these veterans literally take these young guys off to the side. You see Sue taking these defensive linemen and work on them with their hands. You see some of the linebackers kind of go off after practice is finished and go off together and do some work together without the coaches, just amongst themselves. And that tells you that the chemistry of the team, that there's something different. And they're all wanting to do something special. And there hasn't been a day go by that I haven't seen that position group separate. And it's not just everyone comes together. Maybe the 2 or 3 rush guys get together. Maybe the tackles get together. And then sometimes you see the linebackers and the safeties get together just to kind of talk shop. So I'm really excited about what they're doing. I'm excited about what the possibilities are. Hey, I understand they're in shorts.
Right.
We haven't put the pads on, and that's going to be the real indicator how well we progress. But right now, they've done everything they're supposed to do. They're going fast. They're well conditioned. They're great communication, which is probably one of the bigger things. And it's going to be fun to watch these guys play when we start playing on Sunday.
And that's just one side of the football.
That's just one side. And I've been focused on defense.
I know you have. But now I'm going to ask you a little bit about Ryan Tannehill on the offensive side. And taking some questions here, Dylan Tartaro says, hey, Twan and John, what's your impression of the offensive potential? And the first thing I looked at was, how is Ryan Tannehill moving around? And by all accounts, he looks like he was never injured last year. Right. He looks good. He has that athleticism. He can run the football. He can tuck it. He's got his mobility. But offensively, what were your impressions of what you've seen so far?
Well, I'm going to start with Ryan because I'll tell you, he looks transformed. He looks like has the reins, like, he understands his position. And he's been playing, just throwing the ball, he's been playing amazing. He places the ball well. He knows when to run. He knows when to pass. And he's really just taking control of the offense. It doesn't look like there's any type of miscommunications. Like, he's clear. Sometimes maybe a guy lines up the wrong spot, and I see Ryan, no, you're going to go over here. Remember, I got you after 3 steps. And
right.
Like, that's not the kind of stuff you hear accidentally, without that work. And we may mess around and have one of the best receiving cores in football. We really have the potential to be great. You got Kenny Stills. You got
Devontae's coming onto his own.
I'll tell you, Devontae's been making some catches.
Yes, he has.
That has been phenomenal. And then you got 14. 14 still, to me, he plays like a little bulldog.
Yeah.
He's still walking with that swagger. And then when I watch his routes, he even looks more crisp. And I thought he ran good routes before. He looks more crisp. And I'm just excited to see what this wide receiver crew can do. And then, not even to mention running backs. It's hard to measure running backs in this part, but they look fast. And
they're young, and they have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where we're waiting to see, the next version of Jay Ajayi. He did so much for this football team and being able to run the football. And then you've got guys that came in and really played a key role. How can Drake expand his role? How can Williams do a little bit more in his role? Because both players are very dynamic in their own right. So you go from quarterback, you go from running back, you hit wide receiver, and the Dolphins signed Mitch Matthews, a receiver from BYU, and King Endelin was asking the Mitch Matthews signing, was it good? Well, we're going to find out this week a little bit because we haven't seen him on the field, but he does have size, and he brings some added depth to that position. And I think that's one of the things I want to talk about next. Coach Gase talked about the only way this team's going to improve from 10-6, the only way we're going to take the next step is if we create more competition within our walls so that we get the best out of what we can do each and every Sunday when we go out to play.
Just look at the tight end position. Look at the competition that he's created. You have Thomas, you have Gray, you have Fasano. Last year, you could name who our tight ends were.
Yeah.
Especially after all the injuries. And to see a group like that, bring the competition and see what they get to bring to the table, I think they're going to be able to, open up the field for the running game, open up the field for the passing game, because now you have that middle vertical threat with that tight end that, a lot of people are going to have to figure out. And I'm just excited to see what they're doing in competition. Whether, yes, there are some positions you could pretty much pencil in and exactly who the starter is. But there's, between offense and defense, there's probably a good 7 positions that there's true competition. Whether it's the offensive line, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's at safety, there's true competition.
And they've created great depth
Correct.
At those positions as well.
And it can go either way.
Right.
And last year you're like, well, after that guy, who's gonna step up?
Well, there was one of the questions from Sam talking about, what do you think, TJ McDonald over Nate Allen when he returns from suspension? Because I think that's one of the positions right next to Rashad, you've got 2 guys there that it doesn't really matter in my opinion right now because both look really good.
They look really
and
good.
Allen's going to be the first guy up.
Right.
And then it's going to be TJ coming in after week 8 with an opportunity to play and contribute at the tail end of this schedule. Injuries, you never know what's going to happen at that position.
It's going to be interesting to see.
It'll be interesting there, right?
Because of all the battles, that's the one where you say they're probably the most evenly, they're fighting back and forth. And it's exciting to be able to watch these guys fight.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see what our capabilities are. And it's fun. It's really fun. It's been a long time where I've looked at the Dolphins roster as a whole, and I was like, you know what? This position is good. Like, when you look at all the positions, we have great depth. We have great competition. And in many instances, we have some of the top players at that position on our football team.
Well, we were talking about depth and position of need coming into this year's draft, coming into the offseason. And it's always seemed to be over the last 3 or 4 seasons, at least when we've been talking about it, it's been offensive line. Now you've got an opportunity when you have some depth that's been built up there. Jermon Bushrod seems like he's going to settle in on the right side, his second year at guard after moving inside to play that position from tackle. He played it with the Bears, even kicked out as a third tight end in some of those situations coming back from injury in Chicago. But now he's in his second year on the right side. The left side seems pretty secure because there's been so much rotation and so many guys getting experience, not only at the guard position with Larson coming in as a free agent, but at center because of Mike Pouncey's offseason injury. And seeing him come back will be a pleasant surprise. But I think that breeds more competition at those two positions, because the more you can do, if you can only dress 7 linemen, you have to be able to be flexible up there. And I think those guys are going to get ample opportunity in the preseason to show what they can do at both of those positions.
The biggest benefit for our offensive line is that defensive line that they have to go against.
That's true.
I'll tell you, I mean, you got to pick your poison at that defensive line. Like, where are you going to attack us? Are you going to double suit? Okay, then you have Branch, Wake. I mean, you have 3 or 4 of the guys that now you have a problem. And I think that's going to make our offensive line better. I'm excited to see, from a run standpoint, I think we have a run-style offensive line. Like, they're grinders. They're guys that can get into the
lean on you.
They can lean on you. I mean, and we can block the pass. It's not like a one-dimensional line. I think they're versatile. I think they've done a great job of adding some pieces there where that offensive line could be really good. And hey, granted, we had to. I mean, I think Tannehill can be really good, but we got to keep them standing up. And I think that's what the focus was this offseason, making sure we had an offensive line that can do that.
For me, coming into this season, I have 2 question marks. How is Laramie Tunsil going to adjust as his first year at tackle? I think he's bigger. Mm-hmm. I think he's stronger than he was last year. He's very athletic. He's very bright as an offensive lineman, being able to adjust on the fly. But playing a new position is always difficult. Everybody says, well, it's like riding a bike. Well, until you get out there against the best that you're going up against, that will be something that needs to be answered. Is he able to take that next step? And on the other side of the football, I would say Xavier Howard. How is that competition with Tony Lippett? Both guys got experience last year. I think we're better off for it, but who's going to win that battle? Those are 2 of the ones that I'm looking at.
For me, Lawan James, I think he has a great opportunity to, take that next level. And I like to see what he's going to do at the offensive line, especially on that right side. Can he hold it down? I mean, because I think there were parts of last year where, I thought he played extremely well.
Right.
But I think he can take it to the next level. And I think he has some competition, some people knocking on the door where he's going to have to really, stand up and press and become that guy. But, that's the fun part. There's great competition. There's no guy that's just completely sold out where you're definitely going to be the starter. I think there's enough competition on both sides of the ball where they're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think so on the defensive side as well. Yeah. There's so much competition. We mentioned there's added depth at linebacker, but where do they line up and how many guys dress and how many guys are going to be able to play your role that, hey, I'm that next guy in, but how many teams am I on and how well can I make this, how can I put that smile on Darren Rizzi's face every time I run down the field?
I'll tell you, Coach Bush is going to be happy because I think they're going to have to play a lot of linebackers because of special teams.
Right.
When you look at Hewitt, or when you look at Hull, when you look at all the guys that can play special teams, I think you have some great depth there. And McMillan,
yeah,
I mean that kid's been playing great. I'll tell you, don't be surprised if he makes it complicated. And if he makes it really complicated in training camp.
And we haven't even mentioned Koomisi's name.
No, we haven't.
He's out.
Because he's out. But I mean, when you look at the possibilities, like we really have an opportunity. There's 3 or 4 combinations that you walk away like, oh, they can really play. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen once we put the pads on. I'm excited about this week, but I'm excited for the summer when we put the pads on.
Well, I'm excited to have you in. That was fun talking about the 7-on-7 and the experience that we've had with all the high school teams coming in. I know we have 3 more practices, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mandatory mini camp. No pads, just helmets, but they'll be able to spend a little bit more time in the building. The players will. And I know you're looking forward to this weekend with the 7-on-7 again.
No, I'm excited about what's going to happen this weekend. It's going to be fun to see who takes the title and who wins it all. So, I mean, it's it's all about bragging rights this weekend and character.
Well, good to see you, buddy.
Appreciate
Have fun this week at practice. Have fun at the 7-on-7 this week. And that's going to do it for today's Audible. Bo will be back from an extended vacation. He'll be back on Wednesday. He had a good time with some guys he grew up with out of town. So a little golf, a little R&R for Bo. He'll be back on Wednesday. He'll be back paired up with Joe on Friday for a version of the Audible. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us, and Bo will see you on Wednesday.